Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Introduction to Apprenticeships talk. My name is Trisha, and I am here on behalf of the Education and Skills Funding Agency, which is part of the Department for Education. And I work for the organisation CXK that delivers the Apprenticeship Support and Knowledge for Schools programme. So today I'm here to talk to you about apprenticeships and hopefully be able to present the fantastic opportunities that apprenticeships can offer. I'll also be able to introduce you to traineeships as well, which is a really good option if you're considering doing an apprenticeship, yet maybe lack the experience or knowledge to take you onto an apprenticeship. And that's something that can then lead you on to doing an apprenticeship. So I will be able to cover both. What I'll be talking about today is what exactly are apprenticeships, what are the different levels of apprenticeships you can do, the range of different apprenticeship job roles that are available, and also the employers that offer apprenticeships, and how to go about searching and applying for apprenticeships. And I'll be doing the same for traineeships as well. So firstly, what exactly is an apprenticeship? So an apprenticeship is a real job of a real employer where the apprentice will be working full-time whilst also studying towards a qualification. So you could be an apprentice working for Sky as an example, maybe as a journalist, but whilst also studying and gaining a qualification in journalism. So it's a combination of working and learning together. As an apprentice, it is a real job, so you will earn a wage and it can be a really good salary too. The salary of an apprentice can vary from employer to employer, but legally an employer must pay an apprentice the national minimum wage, which currently is around £4.30 per hour. This is lower than the normal national minimum wage, but it does recognise that some people will be going into their first job with maybe little or no experience. The good news is that lots of employers will pay a lot more than the national minimum wage for apprentices, with some average salaries from over 15 to 20k, for example, if that young person was going into a higher or degree level apprenticeship. In terms of a contract, every apprentice will have access to a contract of employment which will state their holiday pay, annual leave, etc., exactly the same as any other member of staff. 80% of their time will be spent working, which is called on the job, doing their actual role, and 20% of their time is going to be spent off the job, studying and working towards a qualification. So this study element, which is called off-the-job learning, would usually take place with a training provider who will help you achieve the qualifications and make sure that the apprentice completes their apprenticeship in the end. So a training provider could either be a college, a university, or even an independent training provider organisation who delivers training or teaching elements of the course. Typically, an apprenticeship will take around about 1 to 4 years, so that's on average. However, sometimes in certain areas it can take up to 6 years. So for example, if they wanted to become a solicitor, that's actually the maximum amount of time that you can spend doing an apprenticeship, which is 6 years to complete. There are more than 600 different apprenticeship standards covering many different levels of apprenticeships from level 2 all the way up to level 7, which is a master's level qualification. So you can actually work your way up to gaining a degree through the apprenticeship route. It's also a real job with real responsibilities, and it certainly is not the easy option. Holding down a full-time job and studying takes certain skill and commitment, and it won't be right for everyone. However, apprenticeships are a hugely rewarding option. Okay, I'm now going to move on to talk about the different levels of apprenticeship. So each apprenticeship has a level which falls into one of these 4 categories. So you have intermediate apprenticeships, advanced level apprenticeships, higher apprenticeships, and finally degree level apprenticeships. So the equivalent educational level column on the right hand side helps to explain what level the qualification at the end of the apprenticeship will be in comparison to more familiar qualifications like GCSEs and A levels. So you can see that if you were to do a level 3 advanced level apprenticeship, once you have qualified, you will gain a qualification that is equivalent to 2 A levels, a level 3 diploma, or other equivalents like IBs or BTECs. The level of apprenticeship that you start on will really depend on the kind of job that you're applying for. So it's really important not to be held back by looking for a particular level. So for example, degree apprenticeships once you've finished sixth form or college. Apprenticeships work a bit differently to school, which can be a bit confusing sometimes. So lots of students might think that you should naturally progress onto the next level. So for example, if you were leaving after GCSEs, then naturally you would go into that level 3, or if you were to finish after A levels, then you would go and look for a degree level apprenticeship. But this isn't always the case. So depending on the sector and apprenticeship, it may be that you need to start at an advanced or a high level and work your way up, or that brilliant apprenticeships are only offered at level 2 or level 3, for example. So journalism is only offered at a level 3 because that is all the industry requires. Equally, you may be entering a completely new sector or industry that you haven't studied or worked in before, and so you may need to do a level 2 or level 3 to enter the world of work and get that understanding. Doing a job is completely different to getting GCSEs or A levels, and that's why it can be slightly confusing. It is very important to keep an open mind so that you can explore all of the opportunities available and have multiple options available when applying. I mentioned higher and degree level apprenticeships in the previous slide, so I wanted to go into a little bit more detail about what higher and degree apprenticeships are. So higher and degree apprenticeships are a real alternative to following the traditional route of going to university as a full-time student. They offer all the benefits of higher education with none of the cost. You will not only be learning, but earning a salary from day one. With a degree apprenticeship, you're much less likely to build up any debt because your tuition fees are fully paid by your employer and also the government, so you will not be expected to pay that £9,000 per year. More than 100 universities in England offer degree apprenticeships now, and the students on degree apprenticeships are entitled to exactly the same as other students. So you will still have access to the student union, sports facilities, clubs and societies, and even the student discounts as well. In the past, going to university was seen as the best way to advance your career to a higher level, but with the current level of competition for jobs amongst graduates, it might not be the best route for you. So with an apprenticeship, you gain the competitive advantage of gaining at least 3 years work experience whilst completing your degree. But remember, it is hard work as a degree apprentice. You'll be working full-time plus fitting in the equivalent of a full-time degree alongside it. So it might take you a little bit longer than studying full-time. So for example, 4 years instead of 3 years, but you'll achieve exactly the same degree at the end of it. So no matter what kind of career you want to follow, you need to do your research and find out if there's ways to get the role you want through an apprenticeship. That way you can decide if you would prefer to study full-time at college or university, or if you'd prefer to go into work as an apprentice and gain qualifications and experiences on the job from day one. Remember, you can apply for apprenticeships alongside applying for university, and then you can decide what is right for you later on. This slide gives you an idea of the huge range of apprenticeship job roles that are currently available, and this is just a taster. There are over 600 different apprenticeship standards available, resulting in over 1,500 different job roles. So you could start an apprenticeship in hundreds of occupational areas, and some will really amaze you. So a really good resource to have a look at if you were interested in finding out what type of job roles is available. One of them is the apprenticeshipguide.co.uk. If you wanted to find a full list of the standards, then I definitely recommend having a look at the Institute for Apprenticeships website. So equally, the range of employers offering apprenticeships is incredible. So this slide shows you some really familiar logos of big companies in England who all recruit apprentices. So some of these employers may not be currently recruiting, but you will be able to track their recruitment updates on their websites or social media. Around 50% of apprenticeships started on with larger companies like this, but the other 50% will be with smaller local companies. So it can be tempting to think that the best apprenticeships are with the big well-known companies, but many of the smaller employers have absolutely brilliant schemes that enable fast-track career progression for their apprentices. So it's really important to do your research and to not ignore the smaller companies because they can be just as good. So where can you find apprenticeship vacancies? So the first site to have a look at is the Find an Apprenticeship website, which is on the gov.uk site. So that's the government portal for finding apprenticeships. When you go onto that website, it's definitely recommended to register, create that account, so that way you'll be able to set up and manage alerts, and you'll be able to apply for an apprenticeship once you've created that account. Do as much research as you can and make sure you do your research early. Don't leave it until the last minute to apply. And definitely contact companies. So even though it's great to have a look at find an apprenticeship and apply via the website, it's also really important to reach out to companies and see whether they have any opportunities available. I'm now going to cover a bit of an overview on traineeships. So traineeships are one of the options that you may want to consider as you go into your next steps after leaving school or college, if you want to gain experience but also develop your skills as well. So I'm going to talk about what exactly are traineeships and what a young person can get at the end of a traineeship. So what exactly is a traineeship? So traineeships are education and training programs run by colleges and training providers that prepare young people aged 16 to 24 to progress onto an apprenticeship, employment, or further learning like a college course. They are made up of four main parts: English and maths and digital skill supports, if you need it, employability skills, work experience with a local employer of at least 70 hours, and a flexible element, for example, a qualification that supports the move to an apprenticeship or employment. Usually, traineeships can last anywhere between 6 weeks and 12 months, depending on how the training provider and the employer best feels the course can support the individual. Typically, however, they tend to last around about 6 months. So are traineeships paid? So as traineeships are a training program and not a job, employers are not required to pay you for taking part in a traineeship. The course is also free for you to participate in. There are no training costs. However, some may support you with expenses such as transport and meals. So depending on your circumstances, you may be eligible for further financial support through your training provider, such as support for travel, childcare costs, or if any support is required due to a disability. You may also receive support from your local Job Centre Plus if you're eligible for work benefits. So traineeships are designed for young people between the ages of 16 to 24 or 25 if you have an education and healthcare plan, who do not have very much work experience and want support and experiences to help them to prepare for work. The program aims to build the trainees' confidence and their skills so they feel ready to apply for full-time jobs, apprenticeships, or further study. So to be eligible for a traineeship, the individual must be qualified up to level 3. So for example, you have studied up to A levels or equivalent, and they also cannot currently be in full-time employment. So for individuals who want to build their confidence and gain experience, traineeships could be a suitable option for them. There are a wide variety of traineeships available in numerous sectors and industries, with sport, media, finance, business admin, health, hairdressing, catering, IT, and many more. Doing a traineeship can find you gaining valuable work experience in a sector that interests you. You will learn hands-on experience and contribute to a team whilst learning about the role involved. If you are a young person who is not currently in full-time employment, has little work experience, are aged 16 to 24 and qualified up to a level 3, and could be work ready within the next 6 months, then a traineeship really could be for you. There are a few different ways that you can look for a traineeship, and one of the websites that you can use is called Find a Traineeship, which is a bit similar to the Find an Apprenticeship website. So the link to that website is the gov.uk/find-traineeship. Once you go onto that hyperlink, you will be able to get redirected directly to the Find a Traineeship website. Not all traineeships will be advertised on the Find a Traineeship website, so it's important that you really expand your search and look in other places. So for example, ask your local college or training provider if there are any local traineeship vacancies. You can also speak to your school or college and your careers advisor. They will be able to support you. And there's also the National Career Service website, so there's lots of information, advice and guidance regarding your career on that website, so definitely check it out. Thank you very much for listening to this talk on apprenticeships and traineeships. There's lots of support and information out there to help you stay up to date with the latest apprenticeship and traineeship information. So you can follow the Education and Skills Funding Agency on social media or search for apprenticeships on gov.uk for more information.